My parents spent 20 years telling everyone I was a total failure while worshiping the ground my brother walked on. But as they stood on stage weeping and thanking a mysterious billionaire for saving his life, in this story of family betrayal, they had no idea the daughter they despised was the one signing the checks. My name is Aria Kim, and for my entire life, I have been a ghost in my own home, haunting the periphery of a family that only had eyes for one child. To understand why I did what I did, you have to understand the culture of my family. In the Kim household, appearance was not just everything, it was the only thing. My parents were obsessed with status, with the perception of success, and with the idea that our bloodline was destined for greatness. Unfortunately for me, that destiny was entirely pinned on my older brother, Leo. Leo was the golden child in every sense of the word. He was handsome, athletic, charming, and academically gifted. He was the son every parent bragged about at dinner parties. I, on the other hand, was the error. I was quiet, introverted, and interested in things my parents found utterly useless, like coding, logic puzzles, and the interior mechanics of computers. They wanted a daughter who played the violin and married a doctor. Instead, they got me, a girl who spent her weekends in the basement taking apart hard drives. From the age of 5, the narrative was set. Leo was going to be a CEO, a leader of men. I was going to be, well, they hoped I would eventually find a husband who could tolerate my dull personality. I remember my 16th birthday clearly. It wasn't really my birthday party, it was a celebration for Leo getting into a prestigious pre-law summer program. My parents had catered a dinner, invited all their friends, and spent the evening toasting Leo's future. When the cake came out, it had "Congratulations, Leo" written in icing. I sat in the corner, eating a slice of cake that wasn't for me, while my mother tapped me on the shoulder and told me to help the servers clear the plates. "Don't just sit there, Aria," she hissed, her smile tight for the guests, but her eyes cold for me. "Make yourself useful. It's the least you can do since you didn't make the honor roll this semester." I hadn't made the honor roll because I was skipping homework to work on a freelance coding project for a startup in San Francisco. I didn't tell them, of course. Anytime I tried to talk about my interests, my father would scoff. "Computers are for technicians, Aria. Leo is going to own the company that hires the technicians. Do you see the difference?" So I stopped trying to explain. I went underground. By the time I was 18, I had secured a full-ride scholarship to MIT. But when I told my parents, they barely looked up from the brochure for Leo's law school. "That's nice, dear," my mother said dismissively. "Just don't expect us to fly out for Parents' Weekend. We'll be busy helping Leo get settled in Yale." That was the moment I emotionally divorced my parents. I realized that no matter what I did, I would never be enough. So I decided to be enough for myself. Fast forward 10 years. The dynamic hadn't changed, but my bank account had. While my parents thought I was working a dead-end IT job at a local library, a lie I maintained to keep their expectations and greed at bay, I was actually the founder and CEO of Casis, a cybersecurity firm that had just gone public. I was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I lived in a modest apartment when they visited, wore thrifted clothes in their presence, and drove a 10-year-old sedan. In reality, I owned a penthouse downtown and a villa in Tuscany, but they didn't need to know that. Leo, to his credit, wasn't a bad person. He was just weak. He had buckled under the pressure of being the golden child. He became a lawyer as they demanded, but he was miserable. He drank too much, worked too hard, and looked perpetually exhausted. He never defended me against our parents, which hurt, but he never joined in the mockery either. He just existed in the lane they carved for him, terrified of disappointing them. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday in November. I was in my home office, the real one, in my penthouse, analyzing a merger proposal when my phone buzzed. It was my mother. She never called unless she needed something or wanted to complain about me. I picked up, putting on my meek daughter voice. "Hello?" "Aria!" Her voice was a shriek, raw and terrifying. "It's Leo. You need to come to St. Jude's Hospital, now." My stomach dropped. I abandoned the merger, grabbed my keys, and ran.
If you are enjoying the story, please like and subscribe. Also, please comment, as your feedback helps to improve the stories coming.
When I arrived at the ER waiting room, the scene was chaotic. My mother was sobbing into a handkerchief, hysterical. My father was pacing, his face gray, shouting into his cell phone at an insurance agent. "What happened?" I asked, rushing up to them. My mother looked at me, her eyes bloodshot. For a second, I thought she might hug me. Instead, she slapped my arm. Not hard, but with frustration. "Where have you been? We've been here for an hour. Leo, oh God, Leo." "Mom, what happened?" I repeated, keeping my voice steady. "A truck," my father said, hanging up the phone and throwing it onto the plastic chair. "A drunk driver in a pickup truck T-boned him at an intersection. His car is crushed. They're in surgery now. Brain swelling, shattered spine, internal bleeding." I felt the blood drain from my face. Leo, my big brother, the only person in the family who had ever snuck me a candy bar when I was sent to my room without dinner. The next 48 hours were a blur of coffee, waiting rooms, and grim-faced doctors. Leo survived, but the prognosis was devastating. He would need multiple neurosurgeries, months of ICU care, and years of rehabilitation. There was a chance he would never walk again. Then came the second blow. The insurance company denied the claim. There was a technicality regarding the type of coverage Leo had versus the commercial nature of the truck that hit him. It was a legal mess, and while they fought it, the hospital bills began to mount. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a week. My parents were not as rich as they pretended to be. They had leveraged their house to pay for Leo's law school. They had credit card debt from maintaining their country club lifestyle. When the financial reality hit them, they crumbled. We were sitting in the hospital cafeteria a week after the accident. My father was looking at a spreadsheet on his iPad, his hands trembling. "We have to sell the house," he whispered, "and the cars, and it still won't be enough for the experimental spinal treatment in Switzerland that Dr. Aris mentioned. It's $2 million up front." My mother put her head in her hands. "We can't let him die, Robert. We can't let him be a vegetable. He's Leo." I sat across from them, stirring my black coffee. I could write a check for the $2 million right then and there. I could buy the hospital wing if I wanted to, but I hesitated. Why? Because I knew them. If I revealed my wealth, the dynamic wouldn't shift to respect, it would shift to entitlement. They would claim my money was their money. They would say they raised me to be successful and take credit for my hard work. They would drain me dry and still treat me like garbage. "Maybe I can help," I said quietly. My father looked up, his lip curling in a sneer. "You? Help? How, Aria? Are you going to donate your library wages? We need millions, not the $50 you have in your savings account." "I could try to find a loan, or—" "Stop it," my mother snapped. "Stop trying to insert yourself into serious matters. You have no idea how the real world works. You have no assets, no credit, no nothing. Just sit there and be quiet. God, why couldn't you have been the successful one for once? Imagine if you had applied yourself like Leo. We wouldn't be in this mess." That stung. It stung worse than the slap. Here we were with Leo in a coma, and she was still blaming me for not being rich enough to save him, based on her assumption of my failure. I took a deep breath. "I'm just saying there might be options." "The only option," my father grumbled, "is a miracle." So I decided to give them a miracle. But I would do it on my terms. I left the hospital that night and called my personal attorney, Mr. Henderson. I instructed him to set up a blind trust, the Phoenix Foundation. The sole purpose of the foundation was to cover all medical expenses for Leo Kim, including the experimental surgery in Switzerland, the rehab, and the living expenses for the family while they cared for him. The catch? The donor had to remain completely anonymous. 3 days later, Mr. Henderson approached my parents in the waiting room. I made sure I was there to witness it. I sat in the corner, reading a magazine, wearing my faded jeans and an oversized hoodie. Mr. Henderson, in his $3,000 suit, looked out of place in the grim waiting area. He approached my father. "Mr. and Mrs. Kim?" "Yes?" My father stood up, looking weary. "My name is Arthur Henderson. I represent a private client who has heard about your son's tragic accident. This client wishes to remain anonymous, but they have authorized me to inform you that they will be fully funding Leo's recovery." My mother gasped. "What? What do you mean?" "I mean everything," Henderson said smoothly. "The surgeries, the transfer to Switzerland, the rehabilitation. My client has set up a dedicated account with $5 million initially, with more available if needed." My parents stood there stunned into silence. My mother's knees gave out and she collapsed into the chair, sobbing. "A guardian angel," she wailed. "It's a guardian angel." My father shook Henderson's hand, tears streaming down his face. "Who? We must know who to thank. Is it one of my business partners? Is it someone from the club?" "I am afraid I cannot say," Henderson replied, his face impassive. "The donor values privacy above all else. They simply want to see Leo walk again." I watched this from 5 feet away. I saw the relief wash over them, the sheer joy. And then I saw the switch flip. My father turned to me, his eyes shining with manic energy. "Did you hear that, Aria? Did you hear? Someone who actually matters, someone with power and grace has saved us. While you sat there doing nothing, a stranger stepped up." "I heard, Dad. That's amazing," I said, keeping my voice flat. "It's more than amazing," my mother wept. "It's divine intervention. This person, they must see Leo's potential. They know he's destined for greatness. They wouldn't do this for just anyone. They wouldn't do this for you, Aria." I looked down at my hands. No, I guess they wouldn't. For the next 6 months, I lived a double life. Leo was transferred to the clinic in Switzerland. My parents moved there to be with him, staying in a luxury chalet that the Phoenix Foundation had rented for them. I stayed back in the city, running my company, but I flew out every other weekend to visit Leo. Every time I visited, I was subjected to the same treatment. My parents treated the anonymous donor like a deity. They spoke about the donor with reverence, speculating on who it could be. They were convinced it was a billionaire tech tycoon or old money royalty who had admired Leo from afar. Meanwhile, I was the grunt. When I arrived at the chalet, my mother would hand me a list of chores. "Since we are busy at the clinic all day, you can clean the kitchen and do the laundry. It's the least you can do to earn your keep here. This chalet costs more per night than you make in a year." I scrubbed the floors of the house I was paying for. I cooked dinner for them using groceries I had bought with my own money, only to hear my father complain that the steak was a little tough. "If the donor were here," he would say, chewing thoughtfully, "I bet they would know how to cook a proper fillet. They're probably a person of refined taste, unlike you, Aria. You really need to do something about your hair. It's so limp." I swallowed the rage. I did it for Leo, and it was working. Leo was waking up. He was talking. He was beginning to move his toes. The treatment was a success. One afternoon, sitting by Leo's bedside while my parents were out at a networking lunch paid for by the foundation's stipend, Leo looked at me. He was weak, pale, and strapped into a halo brace. "Aria," he rasped. "I'm here, Leo," I said, holding his hand. "Mom and Dad, they say some rich guy is paying for all this," he whispered. "Yeah, some mystery donor." Leo squeezed my hand, his grip faint but present. "Why do I feel like it's not a stranger?" He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. Leo wasn't stupid. He knew our parents were delusional, but he also knew I had always been smarter than anyone gave me credit for. "Don't worry about it, Leo. Just get better." "They treat you like crap, Aria," he murmured, a tear sliding down his cheek. "I hear them, even when I'm groggy. I'm sorry." "It's not your fault," I said softly. "Just walk again. That's all I want." The climax of this twisted charade came 4 months later. Leo was back in the States in a high-end rehab facility. He was walking with crutches. It was a miracle. To celebrate Leo's recovery and to honor the donor, the hospital, in conjunction with my parents, decided to host a massive fundraising gala. The theme was The Gift of Life. My parents were listed as the guests of honor, representing the beneficiary family. They were in their element. My mother bought a $5,000 gown charged to the foundation's expense account, which she abused liberally. My father rented a tuxedo. They were giving interviews to local news stations about the miracle of kindness. I was told, not invited, but told to attend. You need to be there to manage the coats or help Leo if he needs water, my mother said on the phone. And please, Aria, try to dress like you belong. I sent you a link to a dress on sale at Macy's. Buy it. Don't embarrass us. I didn't buy the dress from Macy's. I went to my favorite designer in Paris. I commissioned a custom gown, midnight blue silk, structured, elegant, screaming of power and wealth. I paired it with diamond drop earrings for it cost more than my parents' former house. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was glittering with crystal chandeliers and the city's elite. My parents were at the head table, beaming, shaking hands, soaking up the attention. They looked like royalty. I arrived late, deliberately. I didn't enter through the side door as they expected. I walked through the main entrance. The security team knew me. I was the one paying for the security after all. They opened the velvet ropes. When I stepped into the ballroom, the air shifted. I wasn't slouching. I wasn't wearing my oversized hoodie. I was walking with the stride of a woman who commanded boardrooms. The midnight blue silk flowed around me like water. I saw my mother first. She was holding a glass of champagne, laughing at something a senator said. Her eyes scanned the room and landed on me. Her glass halted halfway to her mouth. She squinted, not recognizing me at first. Then recognition dawned, followed by confusion, and then anger. She excused herself and marched over to me, grabbing my elbow and pulling me toward a pillar. "What do you think you are doing?" she hissed, her face contorted. "Where did you get that dress? Did you steal it? You look absurd trying to play dress up. And you're late. Leo needed his water 10 minutes ago." "Leo has water, Mother," I said calmly, removing her hand from my arm. "And I didn't steal the dress." "Well, you certainly can't afford it. Did you max out a credit card? You are so irresponsible. Go to the back and stay out of sight. The donor might be here tonight. If they see you, they'll think we raised a pretender." "I'm not going to the back," I said. Before she could scream, the lights dimmed. The host took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," the voice boomed, "please take your seats. Tonight we celebrate a miracle. And to speak on that miracle, please welcome Robert and Susan Kim, parents of Leo Kim." My mother shot me one last glare of pure venom. "Stay here. Do not move." She pasted a smile on her face and walked to the stage with my father. They stood under the spotlight, looking tearful and humble. "Thank you," my father began, his voice trembling for effect. "6 months ago, our world ended. Our brilliant son, Leo, was struck down. We had nothing. We were lost. But then, a light shone in the darkness." My mother took the microphone. "A mysterious benefactor, a billionaire with a heart of gold, saved our son. We don't know who they are, but they are the reason Leo is here today. They are a better person than anyone we have ever known. They are selfless, noble, and everything we admire. Unlike some people in this world who take and take, this person gave." She was talking about me. She was using her speech to thank a stranger while subtly digging at her own daughter. "If the donor is out there tonight," my father said, looking out into the darkness of the room, "please, come forward. Let us hug you. Let us wash your feet. Let us show you the gratitude of a family saved." The room went silent. Everyone looked around, waiting for a tycoon to stand up. I took a deep breath. This was it. I stepped away from the pillar. My heels clicked loudly on the polished floor. Click, click, click. The sound echoed in the silent room. Heads turned. I walked straight down the center aisle. My mother saw me coming. Her face went from confusion to horror. She waved her hand frantically, a shoo motion, mouthing, sit down, you idiot." I didn't sit. I kept walking. I walked right up the stairs to the stage. My father covered the mic. "Aria, what the hell are you doing? Get off this stage. You are ruining the most important moment of our lives." I ignored him. I walked past them to the podium. The host, confused, looked at me. I gave him a nod. He knew. Mr. Henderson had briefed him. I took the microphone from my mother's stunned, limp hand. "Thank you," I said, my voice projecting clear and strong through the speakers. "It is a beautiful speech, Mother." The crowd murmured. Who was this woman? "My name is Aria Kim," I addressed the crowd, "and for 28 years, I have been the disappointment of this family." My father lunged forward. "Cut the mic! She's crazy!" "Let her speak," a voice boomed from the front row. It was Leo. He was in his wheelchair, but he was looking at me with intense pride. I continued, turning to face my parents. "You asked for the donor to reveal themselves. You asked to thank the person who paid for the surgeries, the jet to Switzerland, the chalet you stayed in, the champagne you are drinking right now." My mother's face went pale white. "No," she whispered. "No, it's not possible. I am the founder and majority shareholder of K-Sys Technologies," I said, "and I am the sole funder of the Phoenix Foundation." A gasp ripped through the room. "I paid the $2 million for the surgery," I said, stepping closer to them. "I paid the $50,000 for the rehab. I paid for your food, your clothes, and the rental car you drove here." My father looked like he was having a stroke. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "You spent my entire life telling me I was worthless," I said, my voice trembling slightly now, not with fear, but with the release of a lifetime of pain. "You compared me to Leo until I felt like dust. And when Leo fell, you looked at me and saw nothing but a failed investment." I turned back to the audience. "I didn't do this for you," I said to my parents, though I was looking at the crowd. "I did it for my brother, because he is the only one who ever treated me like a human being. But let's be clear, the mysterious billionaire you worship, the better person, it was the daughter you mocked to her face while spending her money." I reached into my clutch and pulled out a check. It was a ceremonial check, but it was real. It was for the hospital's trauma unit, a donation of another $1 million. "This is from me," I said. "Aria Kim, not the anonymous donor." I handed the check to the hospital administrator who had walked onto the stage. Then I turned to my parents one last time. They looked small. That's the only way I can describe it. Under the bright stage lights, stripped of their delusions, they looked shrunken. My mother was weeping, but not the pretty, performative weeping she had done earlier. This was ugly, terrified crying. My father just stared at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. We didn't know," my mother stammered. "Aria, baby, we didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I said coldly. "You preferred the lie because the truth, that the scapegoat saved the golden child, was too hard for your egos to handle." I leaned in close to the microphone. "Leo's trust fund is fully paid. He is taken care of. But the stipend for the family, that ends tonight. The chalet is canceled effective tomorrow. The expense account is frozen. You are on your own." I dropped the mic. It didn't make a screech, it just landed with a heavy thud. I turned and walked off the stage. The silence in the room was absolute. Then one person started clapping, then another. It wasn't a polite golf clap, it was a swell of applause. But I didn't care about the applause. I walked straight to Leo. He was crying. He reached out and grabbed my hand. "I knew it," he choked out. "I knew it was you." "I got you, Leo," I said, kissing his forehead. "I'll always have you." I walked out of the ballroom, leaving my parents standing on stage, exposed and humiliated in front of the very people they tried so hard to impress. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect, but also entirely different. My parents tried to backtrack. They called me 50 times the next day. They left voicemails ranging from apologies to accusations that I had entrapped them. They claimed they were proud of me now. They asked if we could have dinner to discuss the future of my assets. I blocked their numbers. I didn't cut them off completely from Leo, that would be cruel to him, but I cut them off from me. I hired a lawyer to manage Leo's trust so they couldn't siphon a dime. They had to sell their house for real this time. They moved into a small condo. They lost their country club membership. Leo is doing well. He's walking with a cane now. He quit law. He's going back to school to study history, something he always wanted to do but was forbidden from pursuing. I'm paying for that too. Last week, I saw my parents at a distance at Leo's birthday dinner. I didn't organize it, Leo did. He invited them because they are his parents, and he has a bigger heart than I do. I sat at one end of the table, they sat at the other. They looked at me with a mixture of fear and awe. They didn't dare criticize my outfit. They didn't dare tell me to clear the plates. They ate their food in silence, terrified that one wrong word would make the billionaire daughter disappear forever. I realized then that I didn't need their love. I didn't need their approval. I had forced them to respect me, not through cruelty, but by being exactly who they said I couldn't be. They spent 20 years calling me a failure. Now, every time they cash a check for Leo's therapy, every time they see my face on a business magazine cover, they are forced to remember the failure saved them. And that is a punishment far greater than anything else I could have inflicted. My name is Aria Kim. I am not a ghost anymore, and everyone knows it.